The warning echoed through every diplomatic channel, every trade route, and every spacer cantina from the core worlds to the rim. Never approach a Zephyrian female. They are death incarnate. For 3 centuries, this universal truth had governed interspecies relations with the mysterious Zephyrian Empire. Their males were reasonable enough, tall, ethereal beings with translucent skin and silver eyes, who conducted business with cold efficiency. But their females remained an enigma, wrapped in legend and terror. Dr. Marcus Webb had heard the stories. Diplomats who had accidentally made eye contact with a Zephyrian female found themselves catatonic within hours. Traders who had brushed against one in a crowded spaceport simply ceased. Not dead, not exactly, but drained of something essential, reduced to hollow shells that breathed but never truly lived again. The prevailing theory among xenobiologists was that Zephyrian females possess some form of psychic vampirism, a biological weapon that had evolved to protect their species' most precious resource. Others speculated about electromagnetic fields, quantum entanglement, or exotic particles. The truth was, no one knew for certain because no one had ever survived close enough study. Until the Procyon incident changed everything. Marcus stood in the observation deck of the research vessel Endeavour, watching the disabled Zephyrian ship drift helplessly through space. Its sleek, crystalline hull showed signs of severe damage from what appeared to be a meteor impact. Long-range scans indicated life signs aboard, but the ship's communication systems were dark. Standard protocol would be to maintain distance and call for Zephyrian rescue vessels, Captain Rivera said, her weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the alien ship. But their nearest outpost is 6 days away. Those life signs. They're weakening. Marcus adjusted his scanner readings. Captain, I'm detecting both male and female Zephyrian signatures. If we follow standard protocols, the females die, Rivera finished grimly, and we become the species that let sentient beings perish because we were too afraid to help. The ethical dilemma was clear. The interspecies accords demanded assistance to any disabled vessel, but the practical reality was that approaching Zephyrian females was considered suicide. Marcus found himself volunteering before he fully understood why. "I'll go," he said quietly. "I've studied their biology more than anyone else on this ship. If there's a way to help without triggering whatever defense mechanism they possess, I'll find it." Captain Rivera stared at him. "Marcus, you know what happened to the diplomatic team on Kepler Station. 5 trained ambassadors, and they were all reduced to vegetables within minutes of being in the same room as a Zephyrian female. Those diplomats were trying to establish mental contact," Marcus replied, pulling up his research files. "Every documented incident involves some form of attempted communication or emotional connection. What if the key is to avoid those triggers entirely?" 6 hours later, Marcus found himself in an environmental suit aboard the damaged Zephyrian vessel. The ship's interior was a masterwork of organic architecture, walls that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, corridors that seemed to breathe. His sensors led him through the maze toward the life signs. He found them in what appeared to be a medical bay, 3 Zephyrian males in critical condition, and 2 females tending to them with desperate efficiency. Marcus had never seen a Zephyrian female before. They were breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure, taller than the males, with skin that seemed to contain galaxies, and eyes that held depths no human mind was meant to fathom. One of the females noticed his presence. She turned, and Marcus felt the weight of her attention like a physical force. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he forced himself to remain still and focused on a single thought: medical assistance. The female approached him slowly, her movement liquid grace incarnate. Marcus could feel something probing at the edges of his consciousness, not invasive, but curious. Tentative. For the first time in 3 centuries, A sentient being was near a Zephyrian female and still thinking clearly. Marcus reached slowly for his medical kit, keeping his mental focus sharp and clinical. He activated the universal translator and spoke in measured tones. "I am a physician. I have medical supplies that might help." The female tilted her head, and when she spoke, her voice was like music played on instruments. That existed in dimensions humans had never discovered. "You do not fear us. I respect the danger you represent," Marcus replied carefully. "But fear clouds judgment. These males need treatment for radiation poisoning. I have the necessary medications." What happened next would reshape interspecies relations forever. The Zephyrian female, who introduced herself as Lirale, explained that her species' defensive ability was indeed psychic in nature, but it was triggered specifically by emotional connection and mental intimacy. When beings approached them with desire, aggression, or even strong curiosity, their natural defenses activated automatically, draining the approaching entity's life force. "Your species calls it love, friendship, passion," Lirale explained as Marcus worked to stabilize the injured males. "These emotions create bridges. Bridges we cannot control. They allow our hunger to feed. But clinical detachment doesn't trigger the response," Marcus realized. Professional distance acts as a barrier. "You are the first to understand this," Lirale said softly. "For centuries, we've been isolated because others approached us with their hearts open. We became prisoners of our own nature." The revelation was staggering. Zephyrian females weren't monsters. They were the victims of a biological imperative they couldn't control. Their psychic abilities had evolved as a survival mechanism, but in a universe full of social species, it had made meaningful interaction impossible. Over the following weeks, as the Zephyrian ship was repaired and the injured recovered, Marcus worked with Lirale to develop interaction protocols. The key was maintaining what they termed professional intimacy close enough for communication and cooperation, but emotionally distant enough to prevent triggering their defensive systems. The breakthrough came when Marcus realized that Zephyrian females could suppress their abilities through intense concentration and meditation techniques. With proper training and mental discipline from both parties, limited social interaction became possible. Within a year, the first Zephyrian cultural exchange program was established. Within 5, mixed crews were working together on deep space exploration missions. The species that had been feared as psychic vampires became valued partners in scientific research, their unique abilities providing insights into consciousness and mental energy that revolutionized understanding of sentient life. Dr. Marcus Webb became the first human to receive the Zephyrian Order of Understanding, presented to him by Lirale herself in a ceremony that would have been impossible just years before. As she placed the crystalline medal around his neck, she whispered, "Thank you for seeing us not as monsters, but as people trapped by our own nature." The universe, it turned out, was full of wonders waiting to be understood. Sometimes, it just took one person willing to approach the impossible with an open mind and a guarded heart. Marcus had proven that even the most dangerous barriers could be overcome, not through courage or strength, but through the very human ability to find connection while maintaining the distance necessary for survival. In saving the Zephyrians from their isolation, he had saved them from themselves. The warning that had echoed through space for 3 centuries was finally, quietly retired.